What are these roles that we'll end up taking? Usually, when it's the firstborn, they're the heroes of the house. So let's say if it's a boy, the boy will normally take the role of an achieving hero.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's say if it's a girl, the girl will normally take the role of just, it's not necessary, but a lot of times, of a caregiver or a caretaker. Sometimes it is possible, whether it's a boy or a girl, they can take the role of a peacekeeping hero. That the way they, let's say, survive in that family is by keeping peace in the family. That's how they become heroes of the family. Yeah, I think I always tell people it's like a badminton match where you forgot who started or who served first.
I swear.
And it's like a shuttlecock is going like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you don't know
Yeah.
who's supposed to serve, who's supposed to stop,
And you're just
and it's
doing
like a
it. You don't
constant
even know
thing.
why you're doing
Yeah.
something.
If-
You've forgotten the.
Yeah. I tell them sometimes one of them, if they put their racket down for some time, maybe then they are able to like reset. Possibly
I
that's
tell them
one way to
stop
do
playing
it.
the game.
Yeah.
And I did that to one mother and child, and the son would keep on doing, the mother would keep on keeping. It went on, and I said, stop playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it hit the son, and he said, I'm stopping this.
Yeah.
And he stopped playing the game.
Wow.
And within a month, things have become more peaceful. They're not completely resolved, but the
switch is happening.
switch is happening.
Yeah.
There is silence. But there are some people who get a lot of energy from this, so they keep playing the game.
It's entertaining.
Yeah,
why
because
not?
they
The
want the
seesaw is
drama.
entertaining. I mean, who doesn't want to go up and down?
Everyone wants the drama.
Yeah, everyone wants it.
The woman, when she grows up, she gets married and she moves into the house of the man, where they are already a family and they already live in a kind of function. How healthy is this?
We come from a very we culture, and let's say the other part or the opposite side of that we culture is the me culture. Now again, both are not right or wrong. When does the unhealthy part starts to show up is, let's say that girl comes in and it is so many people working together. If the acceptance is not there, if the freedom to express is not there, if there is control from both sides, it's from the person who's coming in or the person who's receiving it, from both ends.
Welcome to Deep Talks. And as promised, we bring you lovely guests with whom we can have very beautiful conversations and have some kind of insights. Today, we are going to touch upon a very important topic: dysfunctional families. Now, we all seem to have dysfunctions in our families to a certain extent. Sometimes it's less intensity, sometimes the intensity is more. But with awareness, with understanding, we can bring this imbalance into balance. And today we will learn and understand and have some conversations with our lovely guest here, Dr. Hemal Vajani Thakkar.
Yes.
She is a homeopathy doctor, and along with an homeopathy doctor, she's a therapist. She's a therapist in regression therapy, past life therapy, inner child integration therapy, REBT therapy, and also psychotherapy. Yes. And Dr. Hemal, welcome to our Deep Talks. It's really exciting to have you here, and really looking forward to have this lovely conversation about dysfunctional families.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about the word family.
Okay.
Explain what is a family and how must it ideally be?
All right. So the textbook definition of a family is that when there are two or more people who are living together and they are related to each other either by birth, that means by blood, or by adoption or by marriage. And of course, now we've understood, we've learned how to live in communities, and which also defines a family. When we are, let's say, for example, all the kids, when they go to college and they are living in their dorms, they are living together with these other kids. That becomes a part of their family. That's like an extended family, but it is there.
Never thought about it like that.
Yeah. And ideally how it's supposed to be, where one can be independent, where one can be honest, one can trust, there's democratic thinking, they are allowed to be themselves, their authentic selves, and of course there is freedom to express of what they think, but there is a difference or a sensitivity towards other people's thinking as well. So it's not controlling, it's not binding, there are good healthy boundaries. That's how ideally it's supposed to be.
Wow, and
Yeah.
it's never so.
That's never so. Almost it is never so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I would define a family
So
as.
are all families dysfunctional? I understand that from like whatever I have seen around me. What would you say about dysfunctional families?
So I would say that we are born into functionality, but I think over the course of our life, dysfunctionality begins to show up. And that's a little, it's very hard to control that when we are so many people living together, if not, if like one person's dysfunctionality is going to show up in that group.
Okay.
Hence, by definition, it's going to become a dysfunctional family then. Because then, if one person is dysfunctional, it's going to influence or, let's say, impact the other people in that dynamics too.
So even like one strong person in the family, strongly negative, or as we perceive negative, maybe not
Sure,
negative.
sure.
Let's not judge anyone,
Yeah,
but a person who might be strongly opinionated
yeah.
or a narcissist or any kind of a
Or let's say an
personality, he can impact
alcoholic.
everyone
Yeah,
else.
or let's say an addict or an alcoholic, or people having dysfunctionality, which is maybe like, for example, when we have behavioral issues, that can also impact the dysfunctionality or show up as a dysfunctionality in a family. Yeah,
That's so
it
interesting.
is. Yeah.
So in Indian families, normally that's the norm that a woman, when she grows up, she gets married and she moves into the house of the man, where they are already a family and they already live in a kind of function. And then she enters the house. She's a newcomer. She's never been there since she's a childhood. How healthy is this?
All right. So, how I put it is that we come from a very we culture. And let's say the other part or the opposite side of that we culture is the me culture. Now, again, both are not right or wrong. When does the unhealthy part starts to show up? Is, let's say that girl comes in and it is so many people working together. If the acceptance is not there, if the freedom to express is not there, if there is control from both sides, it's from
Yeah.
the person who's coming in or the person who's receiving it. From both ends, when this starts to show up, that's when it starts becoming unhealthy. But let's say there is a lot of trust, there is a lot of love, there's a lot of compassion, and the person, everyone is allowed to be themselves with the differences.
Yeah.
That's where it's functional then. That's where it's not only functional, it's healthy. Yeah.
Yes. Very true.
Yeah, I would put it that way. So I would not say that the Indian way of the girl going to someone else's, like getting married and
There are
going to
no
the
right and
husband's house,
wrongs.
it's not wrong
But
because,
over a period of years, it's become so much of
yeah, because I think if the person is coming from a, let's say, a functional family where she's grown with a lot of love, trust, freedom, that's what she's going to bring in. And let's say even the husband's family, if they know how to adapt to this, to accept this freedom, to this
yes.
expression, to this, and trust her, I think there's no reason for us to feel that it's going to be unhealthy or
Yeah.
dysfunctional for that
Very
matter.
true. Very
Yeah.
true.
But you never know when it starts to act up, when if that trust is lost, one person feels hurt, that's where it starts going down like a snowball
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So again, in Indian families, like we see a lot of triangles where there is a mother, there is a son, and the son's wife.
Yeah.
So they become like three people in a relationship, and how how do how does one keep this at a very healthy space? Because the mother has brought up the son and she somewhere is, I have seen that they are little insecure and they fear to let go of the son completely, and the son is starting a new life with the wife and they need their space. So how does one keep this at a healthy level? What is the line?
Yeah. So, what I would put it as that, let's say when we are born, we are completely dependent on our primary caretaker, which is our mothers. And then, of course, when we grow, we interact with our peers, our teachers. So we learn to, in a way, by ourselves, because we are interacting with the outside world. Again, when we are, let's say, becoming a teenager, we start becoming more and more independent to be ourselves, because we are learning a lot about ourselves. We go in the outside world, we go to college, we are depending on the outside world, we are depending on their feedback. So there is this sense of interaction that we are constantly having. Ideally, we are supposed to be reaching that emotional, physical, mental, maybe spiritual independence by the time we reach the age of this 21, or from 21 to 25, so that we can be interdependent with someone else.
Okay.
And which means that even if you are going in a family where the mother is there, she is an interdependent human being, husband is an interdependent human being, and the wife is too, or the daughter-in-law is too. Ideally, we get stuck in one of these phases where we become completely dependent on the outside world or the other people, or we are so independent that we don't need the other person. That's where a lot of time this triangulation starts, and we find ourselves in a concept that I will like to talk more about, maybe when we go ahead, is a concept of drama triangle. That is where we find ourselves in. So I will speak a little more as we go about this drama triangle.
What is a drama triangle?
So it's a behavioral pattern that has been going on since the time, let's say, we have been like conceived. Since Adam and Eve,
Whenever there are more than two, there's a drama triangle.
we are triangulated in, and it's a behavioral pattern which is so hardwired that it's not that we are purposely getting into it. We are unconsciously or subconsciously find ourselves in this behavioral pattern. And what really happens is that all of us, we have a lack or a need that needs to be fulfilled, which is not fulfilled when we are growing up, and it's not that it's done on purpose, but that's how it is. In order to fulfill that lack, we step in these roles. And so for some time, when we step in that role, that need or the lack gets fulfilled or satisfied only for some time. It does not fulfill it forever. Hence, we keep switching those roles. So what are these roles then? Because when we talk about drama triangle, the word itself says it, that it's full of drama. There are a lot of emotions.
Yes.
And that's what we see as relationships, what we see in movies. It's predicted, I mean, it's shown so well in all the fairy tales, in all that we see around us.
Yeah.
And so these three roles which are there, or the three angles that we are looking at when we are talking about these three roles, is one is of a perpetrator, or what we commonly know as a villain. And then, of course,
commonly known as
a villain, that we say.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when we talk about fairy tales, when we talk about movies, that's very the bad man, or let's say the evil person that we the Diane that we call it in Hindi dramas and in the Hindi cinema. So it's not only a man who is going to be a bad person; it could be a woman too.
Yes.
And of course, if there is let's say a villain or a bad person, which is there, a perpetrator, what we define it as.
A perpetrator, yes.
There is a victim which is there. That's the second role that is there in this drama triangle. And this victim, what we commonly understand from fairy tales as the cliched example of damsel in distress, or the heroine that we see in the movies. Not anymore. Now we have like men being in the victim position too, and that's portrayed really well nowadays.
Yes.
But that's the role that they are taking of a victim.
Okay.
And of course, there's a third role that we are talking about, which is of a rescuer, commonly known as the hero or the knight in shining armor that we understand as. And I'm going to give a very brief snippet about what really happens between all of them.
So initially it used to be the hero was the rescuer, the heroine was the damsel in distress, and there was a villain.
Yeah.
But now it can be it's not gender based anymore, but they can be either or.
Either or. And not only that, it's not only there are these different genders who are playing. It could be a situation that acts like or is situated in that role too. That's also possible. So for example, for some people, their hobbies, their work is like a rescuer for them. That's possible. So it's not a person, but it's an inanimate thing which is acting, or a situation which has taken the position of that role. Similarly, let's say what we went through as the lockdown, as the virus became the, let's say, the perpetrator.
Okay.
And that was not like a human being, but it's a being which took the position of the perpetrator.
Wow.
And we were the victims. So just to give like a brief snippet of this drama triangle, that it's so automatic that unknowingly, when we have that lack, that need, we just step in that role. And once we are in it, we are going to play all the roles. And ideally, it's
Oh,
not...
you mean to say that we switch roles?
We do switch roles in the same relationship or the same situation, and in different situations or different areas of our life too. However, we will have a favorite position that we keep taking, because that's the lack which is stronger, and that's what makes us want to keep playing that one role again and again, because that's the need that we want to fulfill. And hence we find ourselves in that same position again and again. And no one likes to be a perpetrator. It's not a...
Yes.
However, we do it unconsciously. We may not be consciously aware of it, but we do definitely step in that role too. So we play all the roles, we keep switching them. Ideally speaking, we are supposed to be out of this triangle. That's the healthy way to stay. That's the healthy adult that we need to be in. Because commonly people ask me, so if perpetrator is bad and victim is also not that great, I don't want to be, and I would want to be a rescuer. But that's also an unhealthy position to be in. That's also not that great to be in. You're still in it.
It can be an unhealthy need to rescue people all the time.
Yes,
When
absolutely.
it comes from a need, it is an unhealthy space.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we have to keep asking ourselves, why do you need to rescue someone?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be the rescuer?
And we've just like touched upon this topic. There's lots and lots of matter available that one can read about it.
Yes, and I'm sure that the audience is getting very interested in this, and they should read up so that they know that what really goes on in a family. Actually, we don't even realize that we are in a triangle right now, not in a triangle right now. We're just living the life so unconsciously. So this is beautiful. So coming to the the roles that we play in a family. So according to my understanding, that we all take up a role. Everyone takes up a role. And so many times the children, they're born, the first born, second born, third born, they have a role, like unconsciously, not every time, but sometimes they do pick up certain roles. So can you tell us something about that?
Sure. So depending on their interaction or with their parents and with their siblings, we take up a role, and we do this again. There's a purpose behind it. Why do we take this role? Because that's the way we learn to survive in that family, and that's the way we learn to bring functionality in the family. So, for example,
so many times, no, sorry to interrupt you here, but can you, like we see the first born, second born, so 80% the time they must be taking up these roles.
So let's say we are born in a family, and there are these roles that are there. And why do we take this role? We take this role because that's how we learn to survive in that family.
Okay.
And that's how they learn to be functional in that family, and let the family also function in a healthy way. And so what really happens is that these roles which are present, they have their positives and their negatives.
Okay.
So it's not necessary that by being in that role, it's always going to be bad. But for example, let's say we go through life, we have good friends, we meet good people, healthy environment, then we learn how to use those positives as a resource. We build on those positives. But let's say for some reason, the situations that we go through that are not healthy, then we tend to, let's say, go towards more of playing the negatives of that role that we take.
Okay.
So what are these roles that we'll end up taking? Usually when it's the firstborn, they're the heroes of the house. So let's say if it's a boy, the boy will normally take the role of an achieving hero.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they're out there, they want to achieve, they want to reach all the goals, fulfill all the goals. And let's say if it's a girl, the girl will normally take the role of, just, it's not necessary, but a lot of times, of a caregiver or a caretaker. She's a hero, but she's a caregiving hero. Sometimes it is possible, whether it's a boy or a girl, they can take the role of a peacekeeping hero. That the way they let's say, survive in that family is by keeping peace in the family. That's how they become heroes of the family.
This is the
The peacekeeping hero.
okay.
These are all firstborns
These
that
are
we are
all firstborn
that we're
ones.
talking about.
So either they are peacekeeping, or they are like the
Achieving,
heroes, achievers,
or they are caregiving
or they're
heroes.
caregiving heroes. Oh
And what
wow.
happens is after that, let's say if it's a second born, the second born a lot of times will take a role of a rebel. And they are the ones who are, let's say, functioning by acting out so that the family learns to, let's say, focus on them, on their acting out,
Yeah.
instead of being stressed about what is really going on. So
Yeah.
in a way, they reduce the stress of the family by acting out, by being rebellious.
So everybody's focusing on them.
So that everybody is focusing on them. Then of course, if there are other bonds which are there, then comes the lost child, which is the adjuster of the family. They learn to be quiet, and that's how they reduce the stress in the family. That they don't want to, because there is so much attention going to the hero, there's so much attention going to the rebel. They learn to be quiet and withdrawn and inwards, and that's how they survive in that family. Yeah. And then, of course, there is one more role, which is of a mascot or a clown. And what they tend to do is they become the entertainers of the family. And by being humorous, by being funny,
Yeah.
they tend to take the stress away from the family, from what is really going on, by
Yeah.
being funny. None of these roles, we can say, are like good or bad.
Yeah.
They all have their strengths.
They just are.
Yeah, they just are. If the hero is, let's say, being like a super achiever, of course they become sometimes controlling.
Yes.
If it's the rebel, that he or she has learned how to act out, but they also are very good at taking charge of situations. They are very good at goal achieving, and they're very independent. They can be on their own. They learn to be on their own. They usually don't depend on a lot of people around them. That's a good part of it. If it's a lost child, they have learned to be silent, but they can be very creative, because when they are lost in their own self, they have this whole world that they have accessible to, that they can think, they can have this sense of imagination, which maybe other people don't have. And if it's a clown or a mascot, what really happens, they can be very funny, they can be very present. However, what can happen as a negative is that they can learn to deny their own feelings. So that's the negative of it, along
Actually,
with the
that so
positive.
reminds me of the Ramayana, the Ram and the Lakshman and the Bharat and the Shatrughan.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the Ram,
Yes.
then he's the hero.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lakshman is the rebel, because
Yeah.
that's how he rebelled. The family said,
Yeah.
I'm going with my brother.
Yeah.
Nothing doing.
Yeah.
And Bharat is like the creative, the lost, but at least at the same time, he's taking charge of this thing by imagining his brother is there,
Yeah.
and being creative and taking care of the place.
Yeah.
And so I don't know much about Shatrughan, but he could be the mascot for all we know.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to create a environment which is more lively
Fun-loving
and
and
fun-loving.
entertaining.
So
Yeah,
keeping the everybody at that
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
This is so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And
highly
this
possible.
is so much for us to understand in this, that, every family comes with a dysfunction, but yes, the functionality lies in the dysfunction if you really look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can bring back the family into harmony from time to time just by awareness.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of awareness.
Lot of awareness. I'd like to add one more point to it. Sometimes, let's say, if one of the child steps out, then the second one can take the role of the
Yeah.
hero. Let's the firstborn left the house.
Because that role is
that role is available to them.
Available to
Yeah,
them.
yeah. So it's possible that we can keep switching the roles.
It was very interesting because this I had learned long back.
Yeah.
And when I was doing that class, my kids were very small.
Yeah.
And my daughter was naturally the hero because she was the firstborn in her own way. And I said, no, I'm going to make sure that both my children are going to be the heroes.
Yeah.
But what happened was, like as luck would have it, my daughter shifted abroad and then the space was empty and the son too became the hero.
Absolutely.
So it just fell into place
Yeah.
by the seat becoming empty, and that space is there for them to, do what that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so many times that's why, in families, the younger ones are a little lost because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And it's not the parents'
because
fault.
It's not the
that,
parents' fault.
this is how it is. This
It's just how the
is how
family
they're born.
functions.
Yeah, this is how the family functions.
So sometimes parents prefer a gender. We're just going to another dysfunction.
Yeah.
And sometimes parents prefer a gender, say a girl or say a boy, anything. It's
Yeah.
not necessary they want a boy child. It could be a girl child.
Sure.
But the gender is born. So many times I've seen, because when we do the sessions and therapies, we see these people come in that, they're being rejected by their parent because they might have wanted another gender.
Yeah.
How does one deal with that? I mean, it's so traumatic for the child to not be accepted by the parent just because it's in a different role.
So a lot of times what happens is that they start losing their sense of identity, and it's not like we don't question who we are as it is, but in at a base existential level one starts questioning that why did I come to this world, why am I existing, because if I am hardwired physically to be, let's say, a male as a gender, and again I'm not going into the rights and wrongs of it, we're just talking genetically what is like physiologically what is shown up on the body. But if the parents wanted me to be let's say a girl, I am somewhere questioning it, because as it is, I am like at that point in the fetal form, there's no logic.
Yeah.
The prefrontal cortex has not completely formed.
Yeah.
Hence, there is a lot of this sense of just taking it on from the parents.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's this sense of confusion that starts to
Yeah.
form, that physiologically I'm, let's say, A, but let's say mentally and emotionally I'm expected to be B.
Yeah.
So that sense of feeling confused with your existence,
Yeah.
or what you're doing in this world, am I supposed to be, is it right, is it wrong, and that starts to develop. One way in which one can do something about is to go to more and more towards your true authentic self, which to recognize that, and of course I'm not saying that happens overnight, it can happen over a period of time with a lot of support and acceptance from people around you. It need not necessarily be family, but sometimes just reaching out to those people who relate to you, and let's say you find that acceptance, you may be able to discover that true authentic self of yours, which again is not right or wrong, but just knowing that this is who
you
I
truly
am.
are.
Yeah, who I
Because
am.
so many times, like men develop, female, breasts, and they
Sure,
have these issues, they look
yeah.
very feminine, not like, they're not like on the other side, but they just have these feminine, because somewhere subconsciously the mother must have wanted a baby girl, or the boy, the girl child will be very tomboyish.
Yeah.
Because somewhere, like I had a girl who's like so tomboyish, and like she's so masculine, and it's like the mother just believed when she was in the in the fetus form that I have a boy.
Yeah.
So it's for so unconscious,
Yeah.
like she doesn't even realize why she's so not feminine,
Yeah.
why she's so masculine. She just is who she is. And she's not even like, she's very healthy in her own skin. Not that she's not comfortable, but she just is.
Yeah.
But I could see that it's stemming from this entire unconscious thought
Need, that
from
need.
the need to be accepted.
Need
or
to be
need
accepted,
to be
or
belonged.
need to be that person who my mom
Mom
wants me to be. It's highly possible. Usually I also tell people that sometimes that, we not judging by what is being presented to us, just understanding what could be the underlying cause because of which they're compensating and being this person, where they're losing their true self.
Yeah, because then they're not living their true self, when they're so unconscious about it for such long period of time, maybe years and years,
True.
till they realize that something is going wrong somewhere. Why is my life not working for me?
Yeah. And sometimes this is where they find their true self, where they are, let's say they themselves want to be that opposite gender, then that's fine completely. As long as the person themselves know that this is the true authentic self of mine, I respect and honor whatever choice they make. Yeah.
So parents bring up their children with pure intentions. Most of the parents do that. And but children tend to pick up wrong, sometimes no, my parent didn't mean good to me, my parent, it might be true in some cases, but in some cases it might not be true. So it's like kids, they start beginning to blame their parents, show anger to their parents. That's become such a big dysfunction, in a family. Then the parents are like, oh, I've done so much for the child, and the child is just like gotten up and he's rebelling such big time. So how do we understand where to bring the balance in such a situation?
So, I mention this a lot of times to people who come to me even for sessions, that it's the kids also who are coming for sessions and the parents also coming. If it's the kid who is now grown up and become an adult and is blaming their parents, I do tell them that, listen, we cannot go and like change what happened to you, what really happened to you. That is not something that can be done. However, you can take the responsibility of working on what you're feeling now onwards. By blaming, by feeling that anger, it's not going to help you to move forward. That's not changing what happened to you. You can, of course, think that this is what happened. We are not saying that factually, we're not denying it.
Yeah.
But this is what it is. You can take charge and be
Yes.
responsible for yourself now, today,
Okay.
and forward. Similarly, for the parents, let's say they're feeling guilty, they're feeling bad. That, let's say, a lot of
They
times
did
parents,
mistakes. We all do.
that I'm not a good parent.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's the best that you could have done at that point of time. That's the way in which you survived
Yeah.
from whatever you went through from your childhood. So, yes, that does not mean you have to continue doing that now forward as well. You can be responsible to make that change now. That does not guarantee that your child is going to, let's say, come and maybe acknowledge that, because a lot of times parents do it with the intent that if I did this, will my child come and love me? And we don't know that, but you still do it. You
Yeah.
still take the responsibility and you do correct that. There is a huge chance, there is a huge possibility that it actually turns around and maybe your child starts seeing that
Yes,
love.
yes.
And that's a possibility. You don't do it for the other person or to receive that.
Yeah.
You do it because I think that's the right way to
Yeah.
move forward.
Yeah.
And then and see how it lands up in your life.
So
Yeah.
sometimes, kids sometimes they draw a lot of boundaries with their parents, and then they have to draw boundaries, because I have had a clients whose parents are like extremely negative, and now to live their life harmoniously with their spouses, they have to draw boundaries, walk out of their houses, and tell their parents, these are the limits, we are there for y'all, but this is the limit. But then they feel so guilty.
Sure.
They feel, because we are so trained, and it is right that parents are your next to God, and you have to take care of them and everything, which is right in its own context. But at some point, there are some parents who are constantly like holding on to you, latching on to you like a leech, and you are unable to even breathe. You're like grasping for breath, and you have to move out, or you have to. That's an extreme cases.
Sure.
So they feel very guilty. So how do we explain to such
Yeah.
people like where to bring in the functionality again?
Sure. First of all, I'm going to start with the word that you use, boundaries,
Yeah.
Now, this word has now become like such a big, let's say, fad in a way.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. At the same
Yeah.
time, it's also maybe sometimes very annoying because the way it's used, it's
We
misused
overdo it
sometimes.
also
Yeah,
sometimes,
sometimes
yes.
misused. How I would ideally define this, that by talking about the concept of boundaries, so that it's not misused, hopefully, there are only two ways in which we can establish a boundary. One is time and other is space. And like there is a space between us. We are sitting at a distance.
Correct.
That's a space boundary that we
Correct.
have. We have a time limit that this time to this time, let's say we're going to have a conversation. That's a time boundary. Ideally speaking, of course, we are born in this we culture and we've not learned how to use it to our own benefit. When we become an adult, this is the natural way in which we need to be living, by having that healthy boundary of time and space. So it's not, and there is no right or wrong in this.
Yeah.
If someone chooses to stay with their parents to take care of them, that's what
Good.
feels right in them, then that's what you do. That's what feels right as a healthy space for you internally, like having that, in a way, internal reference point. If it feels good to you, if it feels healthy to you, that's the boundary you need to establish. And that's the only way one can, let's say, get over that guilt, that let's say that by living together, we are unhappy, we are hurting each other,
Yeah.
or you are getting hurt,
Yeah.
and we're becoming people who we are not.
Yeah.
Then that's not a healthy space to be in.
Correct.
And yes, it would be ideal if we live together and be happy, but this is a better way to stay, or this is a better way to live. Hence, you are doing this. So it needs to feel good internally. The person needs to make that call as an internal reference point that they know what they are doing, they know how they are feeling. So usually, I don't advise people that you live with your parents or don't live with your
Yeah.
parents. You go to that space within you, what feels healthy to you and what is going to be healthy for your family around you.
That's so interesting. I
Yeah.
love the way you put it that, go with your internal feeling.
Yeah.
What is healthy for you might not be healthy for someone else.
Sure.
So, what is your healthy boundaries with your parents? And where do you need to see that you can bring in harmony between your family and your parents? Because we Indians have so much of this, joint family system
Yeah.
that sometimes we are so worried about what will people say and we stick to a lot of dysfunction in
Sure.
families, and we are not ready to move because we feel, oh, what will people say?
What
So,
will people say? Or is it the right thing? Am I
is it
being
the
a
right
bad
thing?
child? Am
Yeah.
I being a bad person? Or am I
Yeah.
being a bad parent? There are a lot of times parents who encourage
Yes.
their children
Yeah.
to live by themselves. And the children feel that why you don't want to take care of me
Yeah. Oh
anymore?
my God.
Like why are you
Oh,
pushing
you're
me out of
throwing
the
me
house?
out. You're
Yeah.
pushing me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't even ask.
Yeah. And that's fine because even the parents have the, in a way, position to be themselves, to be their
Yeah.
authentic
Yeah.
self at whatever age they
Yeah,
realize that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, in fact, in our Indian family systems, again, this is all for the Indians here to understand because we are doing the family dysfunction based more on Indian families because
Sure.
that's where we are.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to understand is that, when we don't teach children boundaries.
Yeah.
I learned boundaries very late in life. And when we were learning boundaries, with our dear Trisha, is when I understood that, what boundaries are. Like, we don't, when a child is like growing up and they want to shut the door and they say, give me space. And the parents go so hyper, like a 13-year-old wants to shut the door,
Yeah.
but he's processing so many things within themselves. I think it's good to give them space, and we don't, as Indians, we don't understand what it is to knock a door and walk in.
Yeah.
What it is to, ask even in within the family, can I come in,
Yeah.
into your brother's bedroom
Yeah.
or your child's bedroom or your parents' bedroom, even children.
Yeah.
They think it's just open the parents' room and walk in. So we don't teach children these boundaries because we ourselves don't know these boundaries.
You've got it spot on. That we ourselves have not learnt it. And
Yes.
hence we don't know how to establish that with our children. So I would not say that
Yeah.
it's like a one point that fault. It's been going on for so many years.
So many
That
generations.
yeah, it's so, in a way, I would use the word again, hardwired in us to be enmeshed, to be we. And it's not a bad thing because there's a lot of warmth in a we culture. There's so much of warmth,
Yeah.
and it's not a bad
Of
thing.
course, of course.
But let's say if you could keep that warmth and also have those boundaries, I think that would be the right way to move forward.
Yes.
That
Then you're not suffocated.
yeah, it's not like the teenager is going to be locked up all the time in the room. That will cause that
Give them a
distance.
few hours, okay,
Yeah.
take it. And then you
Yeah.
have to be back
Yeah, and
having dinner
that's
together.
the negotiation, right? Because the
Yeah.
teenagers are young adults. They are not kids anymore, but they're not adults totally.
Yeah.
And hence realizing that even in that equation, parents are still the adults in the equation.
Yeah.
So they will need to learn how to establish that. There is no rule book.
For that, the parents have to first learn because they are so suppressed with all the joint family people around them. There are good families where they
Yeah,
respect all this, but there are a lot of families where there's no respect.
At all.
Coming to, again, another dysfunction in a joint family where you're constantly compared to your cousins, your siblings, your, other children in the house. And I have seen so many children, like, they're not children anymore, adults, who have been compared as children about their looks, height, studies, constant comparison, even between, forget cousins, even between siblings. Parents sometimes we so unconsciously say it
Yeah.
that oh, you are so dumb, look at your brother, look at your sister, how she can manage the whole thing, learn from her, do what she wants, be a good girl like your sister because this girl might be the rebel. There are so many ways where we are constantly
Put down, maybe.
comparing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bringing the other one down.
Yeah.
So that's such a big dysfunction that we have in our families. How would you like to explain
Yeah.
that to our viewers? Like,
Yeah, why not? So the thing is this concept of low self-worth. Now, it's such an inherent thing that is present. It is natural for us to compare. It's not that
Okay.
we are not going to compare. However, how it's processed, that can land up differently with different children. Sometimes, let's say if the parent is comparing and they're saying that, see, look at this person, how they're doing better, it can be a motivation for some children that, oh, this is, I need to learn.
You really
How is
think that
that?
becomes a motivation at times?
Sometimes,
Okay.
very, it's not that it doesn't, because let's say, for example, if I have, let's say, done like a physics problem, if I've made a mistake and if the teacher is saying that, look at the other way in which this is solved, very rarely, I'm not saying at
Healthy
all.
comparison.
Sometimes it can be a healthy comparison. But let's say if it's done with the intent
Correct.
to make the child feel bad about himself or herself, that's when it becomes
But
tricky.
maybe sometimes the intent is not wrong. No, the parents are
Sure.
not always
They're
having
not
wrong
intending to.
intent.
Yeah. And so this is like it's going to be like an age old thing that is going on for years.
Yeah.
How do you stop comparing? Because that's not in a way possible or realistic. In some way or the other, you are going to, if you want to learn in certain manner, you might just have a reference point.
Huh.
If not comparison, then
Reference.
using it as a reference point. It's not to put you down.
Yeah.
It's for you to learn. If
Yeah.
that's what is given as a message, if that's what even children are children, it's not their responsibility to determine what they take in. It is a lot of times on
Yeah.
the parents. But if the parents can keep this in mind, that if we are choosing to use something else as a reference point to compare, it's for the learning. If this is the message, if this is what they like put it
Yeah,
forward,
I'm sure that's what they mean,
yeah,
but that's not how
a
they're
lot of
putting
times
it.
that's not what it is
Yeah.
understood as. Then
Yeah.
what the child then tends to do is they start feeling not good enough. Now,
Yeah.
is it bad or good? Not really. What happens is they learn to survive with that. Hence, they're going to start seeking approval. Today, it's your parents. Today, it's these adults who are around you, and maybe that's all right. But when they grow up and they become adults, they will start seeking approval from everybody around them. That means they lose their self. They
Yeah.
lose their sense of internal, let's say, identity, and they lose their authentic self. So, yes, the parents' intention is good if they can point it out to the child that this is who you are, this is the true self of yours. At the same time, this is the scope of learning. This is how you can, let's say, improve yourself. That would be a better way to put it.
Yeah.
However, I understand sometimes there is no direct way or right way. This is very easier said than done, that okay, you need to be positive all the time. It does, in that moment, you need to say the words that you need to say.
It's very
And it comes across as a comparison, and it's going to land as this sense of I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
That's also possible.
I have understood that, we Indians again are very direct
Yeah.
in our speech.
Yeah.
And, we just say, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And I learned, from another real culture that, like, how about we do it this way? How about we do it that way? So there is a way we are speaking, sometimes which is just coming across as wrong. Our intentions might not be wrong. So I think we as parents need to be very careful about how we are speaking and what language we are speaking to the children, so as not to cause a low self-worth. And that's very important when you said that, then they come to this, that they are always asking for approval. That comes to a next question saying, there is a title called doormat syndrome. So there are these, mostly this happens again at the larger ratio with women, and they are always either people pleasing, or they are not given the right place or respect in the family, and they are always being, kind of suppressed or told, you're not maybe the earning member, or you are whatever the reasons. So how do you deal with this kind of dysfunction?
All right. So I'm going to give a snippet of a concept called as codependency. What really happens is, let's say that when we are in this relationship, we either become codependent or we become something called as counter-dependent. Now, codependent is someone who keeps giving, and in a way does not receive almost anything back in return.
Okay.
And they're doing this with the intent. They give you so much love, thinking that my love is going to change you. and I'm going to get something back. Because I'm going to change you, I'll get some love back. But that's a way of maybe controlling through love. So it seems as if that a codependent is a very nice person who's giving, but they are also unknowingly trying to control the other person through their love that they are giving. On the other side, it's the counter dependent who will come across as this person who is selfish, who keeps taking, and in fact pretend or show that I don't need you. So they take, and yet they will show that I don't need you. So they're going to come across as these people who are not that great. Both sides are unhealthy, because what really happens is, for a codependent, what starts to become unavailable is that they lose their sense of being responsible for their own happiness. They lose the sense of that I'm making my own reality. So I need to be charged of making myself happy. It's not by giving love or by controlling someone else through love that I need to be happy. And what becomes unavailable to a counter dependent is that they lose their sense of sensitivity to the other person by being this person who is walled up, by saying that I don't need you, I don't need anything from you, and yet taking it, they become insensitive, or that part of theirs becomes unavailable for them to be that sensitive person, or to be this responsible person who is responsible for their own happiness. So typically in a doormat syndrome, what you're talking about, it's the codependent who becomes the doormat, and the person who is doing this to the person is the counter dependent.
He could be narcissist also.
It could be a narcissist, however you put it. It could be, let's say, it could be the perpetrator in the drama triangle that we are talking about. So, in a way, and yes, these roles are learned. Sometimes it could be the hero which is born in the family, which becomes a counter dependent because he or she is, who knows how
they're so used to.
They're so used to. Both are not healthy
Both are
roles.
unhealthy.
Both are unhealthy. If it's a doormat also, yes, they are the ones that are seen to go through the suffering. They are the victims, let's say.
Like when people will see them say, oh, bichara and
Yeah,
bichari.
yeah.
But it's an unhealthy space to be in.
Both people in that equation are in an unhealthy space. So it's necessary for whoever recognizes this, let's say if it's a doormat, if it's a codependent who is realizing this, if they start using their sense of responsibility to be happy for themselves, start taking care of their own self, there is a chance that they will start stepping out of this codependency.
Yeah, but then, that is called empowering yourself to be who you are and love yourself more. But what happens in that is sometimes when one is trying to do that, either one, the other one will try and pull them back into the situation. And it's this constant pull and push will continue till one completely breaks off and gives that gap, and they can reach where they are, the other one will reach there.
I think I always tell people it's like a badminton match where you forgot who started or who served first.
I swear.
And it's like a shuttlecock is going like back and forth, and you don't know who's supposed to serve, who's supposed to stop,
and you're just doing
like
it. You don't even know why you're doing something. You've forgotten the
I tell them sometimes one of them, if they put their racket down for some time, maybe then they are able to like reset, possibly.
That's one way to do it. Stop playing the game.
Yeah.
And I did that to one mother and child, and the son would keep on doing, the mother would keep on keeping. It went on, and I said, stop playing the game, And it hit the son, and he said, I'm stopping this. And he stopped playing the game.
Wow.
And within a month, things have become more peaceful. They're not completely resolved, but the
switch is happening.
There is silence. There's at least that constant not there,
that constant sense of like a seesaw which is going on. You need to just pause sometimes and be off that seesaw.
I'm not doing this anymore.
I'm not doing this anymore.
But there are some people who get a lot of energy from this, so they keep playing the game.
It's entertaining.
Why
not?
The
seesaw is entertaining. Who doesn't want to go up and down?
Everyone wants the drama.
Everyone wants it. However, sometimes it can be beneficial to stop that entertainment for some time at least, to realize that maybe we find another way to entertain ourselves. Not this dysfunctional, unhealthy way to entertain ourselves.
Yes. Coming to our... we're right at the end of our podcast, and we are coming to a very beautiful segment which I've introduced for the first time with Dr. Hemal, which is called the rapid fire.
I'm
So,
excited.
so I'll be giving you one word and tell me what it means for you.
Okay, the
Okay?
first thing that comes to my mind.
Yes, the first thing that comes to
Wow,
your
I'm
mind.
going to
Quick.
try my best that it's all
Yeah,
good.
very quick.
Yes.
Therapy.
Yeah. Well, fulfillment,
Therapist.
good guide,
Healing.
authentic self.
Client.
Oh wow. Client, maybe someone who's learning,
Trauma.
painful,
Inner child.
joyful,
Lovely. That's not the question. Passion.
life,
Life.
breath,
Music.
let's say nature.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's really, really well answered by Dr. Hemal.
I hope.
So coming to our complete last question, which I tell all my, guests, I ask them that one pearl of wisdom, what they have learned from their life experiences, which they would like to share with the viewers.
So I'm going to say two things. One is something which really is a personal experience that really touched me, and I'm going to give like a small snippet. There was a time in my life when suddenly my mother tells my best friend that, I love my daughter, but I truly love her now. And, my friend was also like, what does she mean by this? What happened? And I think what happened is, I think this is the best way in which she could have expressed that she truly loves me now. But in my opinion, I think I was not open to receiving love from her. And maybe in the course of time, when I went through my own healing, my own sessions, I became open to receive her love. And this is the best way in which she could have expressed that I truly love her. I think I truly received her love by then. I truly became open by letting go of my blocks, resistances, maybe my conclusions and my roles that I had that were blocking me. I became open to receive her love. So that was something which was really touching. It happened out of the blue. I didn't expect it, but it happened. And I'm going to say two sayings that I have like come across in this work, and it really like made me think and look at life maybe differently. One is that Sam Keen, he's a philosopher and an author. He pointed out that how when we are born as children, we are all Zen-like, and the Zen masters work so hard to be Zen-like. But children, they are being, they are doing what's supposed to be. They are hungry. I mean, they eat when they are hungry. They sleep when they are tired. And the Zen masters take years to reach that state. Children who are born are naturally in that state, but programmatically and systematically, this Zen-like state gets destroyed.
Yeah.
And so what John Bradshaw has mentioned in his book, which is very beautifully mentioned, that if we learn to reparent ourselves, we will stop looking to complete our past and looking at other people to fulfill those roles of our parents, of our family that are unfulfilled.
Yeah.
So I think these two are like beautifully placed in a way that
Yes.
we need to take the responsibility ourselves. We need to learn how to reparent ourselves instead of blaming, instead of being angry, instead of saying that my life sucks, being hopeless. Yeah.
So beautifully put.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this sharing.
Yeah.
So a home is a safe space. A home must be a safe space. And unfortunately, for many of them, a home is not the safe space. That's where they feel not belong. That's where they feel they're criticized, and like you said, they go out searching for love. They go out searching. So I would just appeal to the viewers to make an effort to keep your home a safe space where your entire family members can come, sit down, and feel warm, welcome, and safe. It's so important
It is.
to feel safe when
Yeah.
you are home.
Yeah.
And coming to the end, it was wonderful talking to you, Dr. Hemal. I'm sure the viewers have taken a lot back. And I'm again, because that's the intention of my podcast, is that when they're hearing, they're healing. And I'm sure a lot of them have healed and gone back to make their homes a better space.
Thank you so much, Anita. I feel in a way honored to be in this state. I hope from whatever I know and I have learned, I've been able to give that message out. I'm sure there are a lot of ways in which people can look at their own self and, like you said, look at building that safety within them.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of tools that are available. They can
Yes.
always seek those tools out and
Yes.
work towards, be responsible towards building that safety
Yes.
for them.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much.